Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. We've already tested out the LR Kaioken Goku, now it's time to test out my boy, LR Great Ape Vegeta. A little bit more on the wonky side, but he's still a decent unit nonetheless. We've got him on a Pure Saiyan's team right now. He does have a 200% category right now on Global, with Gifted Warriors and Vegeta's family, which I'll do a video on soon. And then when Raditz drops, he will be on another one, even though Raditz isn't that great of a unit. Unfortunately, we do have to bring these bozos with us who really do need an easy A, hopefully sometime soon, to get the majority of his links active. And of course, we've got some SSJ4 Vegetas there to get off his Saiyan Raw link as well, and then the Xeno Jeets for the Vegeta's family support. But do let me know down in the comments how you find LR Great Ape Vegeta. I know a lot of people on stream were telling me today they've helped him beat some, SBR and ESBR runs. So yeah, we'll see how he does. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you're new, and we'll see what my boy can do.
You're about to learn the hard way that effort alone isn't enough to reach my level.
Okay, the starting rotation is pretty nice for us. We do have the majority of links active. We're missing Royal Lineage and Transform, which are only key links. And we do have the important attack links off, like Saiyan Warrior Race, over 9000, Saiyan Raw, Legendary Power. The annoying thing is, when it comes to team building, getting that Saiyan Raw link, which is such a good link, which is attack plus 25%. The main place is, you can really... realistically, you're not actually gonna run a rotation where you have an SSJ4 floating. So I think a lot of the time you're probably gonna miss out on that unless you're using one of the Great Ape Easy A units, either the Kid Goku or the Raditz. Of course, you can't use the Vegeta because they have the same name. And to get primarily a lot of this Great Ape Vegeta's links off, and because you will be missing the same Raw link, the other one's over 9000, which is attack plus 10%. A lot of the rest of them outside of Saiyan Warrior Race, which a lot of Saiyan units have, of course, are the links are key links, like Shatting the Limit, Royal Lineage, which you get with Vegeta's, Transform, and also... Oh no, that's all of them, that's all of them. But the link set just isn't the best. Over 9000 is just not a good link, especially with who you have to get it off with, which is these two. The unit's okay once they get to the Vegeta, but you have to wait until like 4 turns for him to even come out, for this guy to even get going. So with all the important links active, we do have just shy of a 300k attack stat and 99k defense. I think Nappa would do enough damage right now. That's a lot of tech key spheres. Of course, we are facing a Goku enemy, which means we do have key plus 3 and an extra attack plus 60% for the rest of the battle as well. Once we've done all of our rotations, we will go into an event that doesn't have a Goku enemy to see how he does there. We're up to a 598k attack stat, and of course, still on 99k defense. He will get his defense up after he does start supering. But yeah, the Vegeta is still a decent unit. Defensively, can be very good. His link set isn't the best. It's okay, just not the best. They could have given him a different link instead of over 9000. Like, it's literally past where that bit actually happened in the manga and the anime. 5.7 mil. For a more defensively focused unit, that's actually pretty good. Almost 6 million with no support on a more defensively focused unit. And hit a 5.1 million crit. And also has probably one of the most majestic looking end screens or KO screens in the entirety of Dokkan. You can't tell me otherwise. Like, that KO screen just looks so good. It's so majestic. I love it. I absolutely love his KO screen. It's so good. But yeah, his link set not the best. Passive's a little bit wonky. And as I said, they probably could have given him a different link outside of over 9000. Like, as I said, in the anime, he was past. You're past the over 9000 bit where Nappa's like, what? It's over 9000? Or in the manga, over 8000? Like, you could actually give him a different link. But, Vegetas always have to fall short to Goku's. But in terms of the leader skill, he is an Inhuman Deeds or Giant Ape Power category to give a key plus 4 HP and attack and defense plus 150. On 12 key, he does raise his attack by 30% for 1 turn and causes colossal damage to the enemy. On the 18, he causes mega colossal damage to all enemies because it is an AoE. No SA effects on that. I don't know why Dokkan doesn't do that. It's like they value AoE units far too much. But literally not an SA effect, not even a stun, which would have been very handy in Super Battle Road, might I add. But yeah, no raise attack, no raise defense, not even a stun on his AoE, which would have actually been pretty good if I do say so myself. But as I said, not meant to be. We still have the same amount of links active right now, but I am going to avoid getting his 18 key off, and we're going to go for the 12 to see how much he does do. Don't forget, he does raise his attack by 30% for 1 turn on the 12. But yeah, no SA effect on the 18. As I said, a stun would have actually been really good. Can you imagine you hit an AoE and you can potentially stun all enemies, or just stun an enemy but ends up being all of them because it's an AoE? That would have been actually really nice for him. And then, of course, because we're facing a Goku enemy, we do have the extra ki +3 and attack +60%. And what is my boy putting out on a 12? 3.8. Obviously, nowhere near as impressive as the 18, but still, it's not bad. Almost 4 million with all of his important links active while being a more defensive unit. It's okay. It's okay. It's not ridiculous, but because he does have guard, and as I said, he is a more defensive unit compared to the Kaioken Goku, who we've already seen offensively is ridiculous. Can you counter that? No. We're going to have to hop back in. It kind of makes sense why his attack stat on his 12 isn't too high. Okay, so we're back. So after dying, as I was saying, because we're facing a Goku enemy, we do get the ki +3 and attack +60% for the rest of the battle. In terms of his standard passive, we've got ki +3 and attack and defense +100%. Gets an additional attack and defense +60% from the super attack, which is multiplicative, just like the Goku. And then gets an additional defense +60% if it is an ultra super attack. So as I said, a more defensive focused unit compared to the Goku. So the fact his attack stat isn't as high as Goku's, or kind of near it. Actually, no, it is kind of near it, but the fact it isn't as high isn't as, like, to me, it isn't a problem. So yeah, that's not too much of an issue. Now, the part where things start to get, you know, a little wonky is kind of what hurts this unit. So already the link set isn't too great. Like, when you think about the better unit it links with, as I've already said, it's the LR Nappa and Vegeta, who desperately need EZA. But when Vegeta comes out, it's not too bad, but you have to wait 4 turns for him to come out, which that's 4 turns to help this Vegeta out, which you don't really want to be waiting for. You know, especially when you want to be getting the 18 ki off to hit the AoE, especially in like a Super Battle Road environment, and also do more damage in general. But not only does the link set kind of hurt and who you have to link him with, because of his link set, you want to run him on main rotation because he has guard. He has guaranteed guard against all attacks, which is a good thing. But unfortunately, things start to get a little bit wonky in his passive, and along with the link set and him having guard, you want him on main rotation in slot 1 at all times to be soaking up all that damage. Understandably, units with guard make much better slot 1 units than units that don't have guard or damage reduction or evade or anything like that. More so damage reduction and guard compared to evade. But you want him on rotation in slot 1 to take advantage of that guard. But the part where his wonky passive starts to kick in is where I kind of don't know what they were thinking when it came to making this guy. Like, it just doesn't make sense. But we do have the Xeno support, which means we're up to 287k attack stat, 119k defense. Let me put him in slot 1. We've got a couple of orbs. What are we up to now? We're on a 515k attack stat, which again is actually pretty good for a more defensive unit. But, you know, typically with guard units, you want them on main rotation. You want them in slot 1 like this when these type of things happen. But the point where Vegeta gets all of his defense is on super. 6.2, that's actually still pretty good. I know that's with support. But 6.2 million attack stat with a more defensive unit, that's still pretty impressive. But, you know, he gets the attack and defense plus 60% in form of a super attack. He gets an additional defense plus 60% if it's an ultra super attack. You need that defense before he guards. So while, you know, after he supers and then, you know, if you guard, like, you have the guaranteed guard come off, when you get all that extra defense and then you guard, he's tanking really, really well. I mean, obviously. And he's tanking a lot better anyway, just for having guard. But to kind of get him at his, like, defensive peak, you want that defense immediately, rather than all on super. Since it's all on super, as I said, you want a unit that guards on main rotation in slot 1, trying to soak up all that damage before you do an attack. Especially in events like ESBR or Red Zone, where you could be taking multiple attacks before you even do anything. And because he gets all of the extra defense on super, means defensively he's not at his best, which means he only has 100% defense and guard to rely on before he supers. So if you get supered in like ESBR multiple times or in Red Zone, yes, he will tank better than some units because he has guaranteed guard, but he won't tank anywhere near as well as he should do, so he will take a bit more damage. Whereas, you know, if you put him in slot 2, you super, you get the attack and defense plus 60% from the super attack, which is multiplicative. You then get the additional defense plus 60% because you get an 18 ki off. That's an extra 100%, or sorry, that's an extra 6% on top of the 100%. And the attack and defense plus 60%, which is multiplicative, which is why the offensive and defense numbers jump up. Which means defensively, he's in a pretty solid spot. With guard, he's tanking really well. So if you was to get supered you are taking next to no damage. But that's after you super, and that's in slot 2. And you want, as I said, you want a unit that has guard on main rotation in slot 1. And that's where the wonkiness comes in that just doesn't really make sense. Like, you want him at his defensive best. Kind of, I mean, well, not even kind of. You want him at his defensive best as soon as you put him in slot 1 ready to go, but that's just not the case. So yes, he's guarding, but a lot of units at that point would have been guarding instead of for 7k. You know, we're still quite early on in this event right now. You know, would have probably been taking double digits there, but now he's at his defensive best. We're going to be taking double digits non-stop on basics. This super attack probably wouldn't do too much. Yeah, 75k. You know, SSJ3 Goku can catch you on a super in this. You know, but if he didn't super and we got supered before we supered, you know, we would have took like over 100k there, which typically units with guard don't really take, even at this point in the event. So that's why his passive gets a little bit wonky, because, you know, all of his extra defense buffs comes after he supers. So in terms of red zone, yes, he can still work really well there, and he's going to work well in other hard content like this and, you know, Super Mario World ESBR. But can you imagine red zone and ESBR as well, where you're taking multiple attacks to do multiple damage, you can take multiple supers, especially in red zone's case where you can take so much damage before you super to get him defensively where you need him to be. Like, this Vegeta should be, when it comes to red zone, quite a defensive beast. Like, he should be amazing in there defensively. But until he supers, he's not. So if you catch a super before you supered, you're kind of taking a lot of damage. I mean, he may not get you killed, I'm not quite sure, but he probably won't get you killed because of the guard. It's nowhere near as good as he should be. And that's facts, and that's where his wonkiness comes in. And especially if you need him and wanting him to be on main rotation in harder events, having that along with his kind of not great link set kind of hurts him, because who are you going to run next to him to kind of get him going well, and also them linking well with him so they can work well? So his link set and partially his wonky passive do let him down a little bit. And I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of frustrating to see, because this unit could work so well if he had all of his defensive capabilities, and probably like one link in over 9,000 changed to something else. Okay, we finally able to pop Great Ape Vegeta's active, which, to be fair, the conditions, just like Kaioken Goku, don't have any turn restrictions, which is actually pretty good. In harder events, getting your HP down to 40% or less shouldn't be too difficult. But considering harder content, you don't really want to be down there for too long, and you might want to heal. It's kind of like a 50-50 for me of how good the conditions are. If there was a turn restriction as well, that would be kind of, to me, it would be kind of bad, but it's okay. So we can finally get this off, which of course we're going to do. So I'm going to pop the sound back on, and we're going to enjoy the animations.
That's it. Burst open and mix! You're finished. This is the end of the line for you.
Of course, he does have a giant form, which means, I mean, for hard events, this is also kind of handy. It means you're doing, you know, some solid damage while taking literally nothing while being in the giant form. In terms of like the final portions of like his passive before he transforms, though, he does also get an additional ki +3 and attack +30% within the same turn when guard is activated, which is pretty good, you know, because unlike Goku, he doesn't get as much ki. He gets even less ki, of course, when you know, he isn't facing a Goku enemy. So having that additional ki is quite handy. Attack +30% helps him do a bit of extra damage. So on 12 here, we're on 2.3, which is okay. You know, so the extra damage is nice. The extra ki is good, especially, you know, as I said, you know, it doesn't get as much ki as Kaioken Goku. It's when the guard is active, which obviously is a guarantee, but again, when you're in slot 1, you're open to a bit more damage, which at some points, maybe you might not put him in slot 1, depending on how many attacks you're taking, how much damage you can take, if it's in red zone. So, you know, you potentially might end up missing out on it, you know, and then if you decide to move him out of slot 1 and you get that in slot 2, you end up kind of missing being able to actually make use of the extra ki and attack because you've already supered. But, you know, typically, obviously, you're going to be having him in slot 1 because of the guard, but you are opening, of course, to a bit more damage because, of course, he needs to super first for him to be defensively at his pinnacle with his guard. You know, and then need his guard to be activated to get the extra ki +3 and attack +30%. But now that he is in a Great Ape, which he's been doing his thing, taking no damage, on super attack or on 12, on the 12 key, he does cause destructive damage to the enemy. On 18 key, he does greatly raise his attack temporarily and causes destructive damage to the enemy like this, which is just shy of a 3 mil attack stat. You know, giant forms, they're better than they used to be, but you don't do too much damage as you're seeing, but you do kind of like chip damage in harder events while also taking no damage. And he has key +5, which is quite handy. But so far from what I've seen against a Goku enemy, he works really well, which again, Goku is a pure Saiyan, which is like 75% of the game. Goku's literally one of the main characters who has like some of the most forms. So you're going to be seeing him quite often, so it's not going to be difficult to constantly get that extra key +3 and attack +60% and facing a Goku enemy. So, you know, he's done quite well in terms of damage output for how defensive, again, he kind of can be, I guess. His damage output is still pretty decent. He's still a solid unit. I just wish with the defense and the guard, it wasn't that wonky. But here we are. Another good thing is he goes on a lot of categories, which is very handy. But in terms of his link set and what he does, what categories are you going to run him on? Like Pure Saiyans? Probably not. Final Trump card? Probably not. You could run him on Giant 8 Power, but there's a lot of good Super Saiyan 4 units there. But I mean, you could get away with him there. You know, his categories do start to diminish once you kind of look at it, like, who are you replacing on there? Who are you getting on there ahead of? Okay, so here we are in the Vegeta event, not facing a Goku. So no extra key +3 or attack +60%. We do have him on straight away with the Nappa and Vegeta. And we do have the support from Xenojeets as well. So 230k attacks at 119k defense. We can get the 18 key off, which is good. Here, not facing a Goku enemies where the extra key +3 from facing a Goku enemy may hurt him, where you start to see his 12 key a little bit more. But after getting some orbs, we're on a 412k attack stat. And with the support, what are we putting out on super? Of course, we are going to get an extra key +3 because our guard is activated. 5 mil, literally just over 5 mil. So again, obviously there's a noticeable difference between facing a Goku enemy and not, but again, considering he is a more defensive focused unit, no matter how wonky he is, there's always a more offensive and defensive unit when it comes to, you know, Goku and Vegeta. But just over 5 mil with the support, while being defensively capable as he is, still pretty solid. It's still solid damage for how good he can be defensively. It just is. No matter how wonky his passive can be, coming with his defense and guard, that's still solid. It's still solid. Obviously, it's nowhere near as good, but it's still pretty good. I don't think I'm going to get the Great Ape transformation off, unless it kind of just happens naturally, rather than just waiting for it to happen for ages like I did last time. Just because the Great Ape transformation, I mean, it's handy, again, to kind of do chip damage and not take no damage. It kind of gives you a breather. But, I mean, with a lot of giant forms, you kind of do next to no damage in it. Or next to no damage in comparison to the harder events you're going to be in. And, like, their damage reduction and defense, etc. And the amount of health they have. So, I don't think I'm going to I don't think I'm going to try and force the active to come off unless it naturally happens and we take damage. But, you know, we're already doing just shy of 2 mil on 12... No, sorry, just shy of 3 mil on 12 keys in a Giant Ape when facing a Goku enemy. And then doing, you know, just over 3 mil when we hit the 18. So, you know, it's nothing too impressive. So without the support, just the links, with 176k attack stat, 99k defense. We can get him 4 orbs. I think we're going to get the 18 key off because our guard's going to be active, because of course we got him in sitting in slot 1. Like, that's such a useful thing to have, especially if orb placement isn't on your side, and of course this Vegeta isn't an orb change. Yeah, we just got the 18 key off. 3.8 mil. 3.8 mil. It's okay. It's not the best. It's not the best amount of damage you can do on a super when facing, you know, I mean anyone, but specifically in his case, a non-Goku enemy. But again, considering how good he can be defensively, it does make sense that the attack stat obviously isn't like 6, 7, 8 mil. You know, it does kind of make a balance. Like, it's okay. But considering, as I said, how many Goku enemies are in the game because of how many Pure Saiyan enemies there are, it's probably going to be more often than not than you're facing a Goku enemy and you're getting an extra key +3 and attack +60%. But at some points, getting an extra key +3 in these scenarios, because you don't have the extra key from facing a Goku enemy, does come in handy. The only thing is, in a much harder event when you're taking loads of attacks, as I said, trying to get that guard activated to get the extra key you're going to be open to a little bit more damage, but you shouldn't get killed. But, you know, as I said before, when it comes to Vegeta units, there's always got to be something that just doesn't... Something's always got to be wonky with my boy. Like, someone in the office must hate Jeets, but he's still a solid unit nonetheless. No matter how wonky he is, not the best links, he's still a pretty solid unit and will do pretty well in harder events. I do really want to test him in Red Zone to see how he does and how much damage he will take before he's kind of defensively at his peak with guard. That I'm really interested to see, but he's still solid. Just Goku is so much better. Like, Goku's one of the best yellow coin LRs in the game, whereas Jeets unfortunately isn't. He's still a solid unit. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'll see you next video, guys, and push.